Welcome back to Just Saying with Jessica Donnell. Today's guest is someone who knows firsthand how the shadows of childhood can stretch into adulthood and how healing is not just only possible, but transformative. Stacy Schaffer is a licensed professional counselor with more than 2 decades of experience working with children, teens, and young adults. She's also a survivor of childhood trauma herself. Through her private practice, Strong Hearts Counseling, and now her book, With Love from a Children's Therapist, Stacy has helped countless people understand how unspoken childhood experiences shape us and how we can break harmful cycles through safety, play, and truth-telling. We're going to dive deep into healing, resilience, and why vulnerability is not a weakness, but a strength. Let's get started. Hey, friends, I'd like to welcome a licensed professional counselor, Stacy Schaffer, to the show. Hey, Stacy.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Your name for just as I was saying your name, I was having like a brain fart because all of a sudden the floodgate opened because I'm one of my best friends growing up. Her name was Stacy, so I was just like, "Oh, Stacy!" Like, anyways, I haven't talked to her in so long. It's been, I never go back home. It's so terrible. I'm like, anyways, how are you? And thank you for coming on.
I'm really excited to be here and have a conversation. So I've been really enjoying podcasts.
Me too. This has been fun getting to know all kinds of different people out there with different points of views. And I know there's a reason why you are on my show because I feel as though everyone comes onto my show and they give me a little bit of something that I need in my life. So
Okay.
I'm
Well, I'm
hoping.
here for it.
Okay, so I want to get a little personal. Can you share a little bit of your personal journey, like how your childhood shaped your path into counseling?
Yeah. Well, I would have what one would say a traumatic
Mm.
childhood. And so I think many people can resonate with that. But I'm an only child. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada, which is not my fault. Just so we're clear.
Just saying.
And yeah, like, I mean, hats off to creating lots of jobs. But I was out as soon as I could. And so there was a trigger warning, like sexual abuse. There was neglect. There were a lot of things that happened in kind of before 10. And then like age 11 was a the probably I would say my like most traumatic year. My mom, she was a single mom until I was 10, and then she married my stepdad, who was a wonderful man until my mom died. And then he just disappeared. And so my mom had developed breast cancer, and in what I am going to want to believe, because gosh, like she died 24 years ago. And so there's no way to know exactly what was happening in her head, but I believe that she thought she was doing the right thing. But she had me sent away. Except it was it was a pretty, like, violent send away. Like, it was one of those residential treatment centers, and you can pay in Utah, and you can pay to have your kid taken in the middle of the night. Uh,
That's
I mean, it was horrific, and so I'm a deep
okay. Can I
sleeper.
ask you a question? So it was a
Yeah.
treatment for mental illness, is what you're
It's about,
saying?
like, behaviorally challenged kids. Like, no one knew why I was there. Like, they're like, "Did you steal a car?" I'm like, "No. What?" But I believe it was, like, advertised as, like, "Here's a place for your kids to heal from anything that's, like, gone on in their life." But like, I think that she had it done that way. It was convenient. Like, I arrived in the middle of the night and someone's like, "Were you kidnapped?" And I'm like, "I think so." And
You mean like
so
other people that were there, other kids were like, did they kidnap you too? Or
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it was, like, probably 3 or 4 in the morning, and, um, and I heard a little voice that was like, "Did you get kidnapped too?" And I was like,
My
"Yeah."
gosh.
And they're
Okay.
like and they said, "It gets worse."
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I want to tell you that I totally understand what you're saying. My parents dropped me in a drug rehab and I had never done drugs. Okay.
Well, thank you for saying that because, like, I've always felt like, "But why?" Yeah, like,
I've
"What?
never found anybody that's been had it done to them as well. Okay, so
What?"
let me just say, like my parents were saying that we're going to go get counseling, like counseling, because we are having a hard time communicating. And I was like, okay, I'm cool with that. And little did I know they read a pamphlet that said, "Is your daughter irritable and irresponsible? She could be doing drugs." And that's what they took, read a pamphlet, and then they brought me to a drug rehab.
You're like, "No, she's just a tween or a teen." Like, "What?" Oh my
I
gosh.
was on basketball. I did basketball, cross country, and track. I was a school photographer. I was in the yearbook. I wrote in the school newspaper, and I was like really popular. And I got C grades only because I've always gotten C grades because I didn't have to work harder than a C. You only had to have a C grade to be in sports, so I never had to work harder than a C. So I never
Yeah.
did. So, but my parents dropped me in a drug rehab, and when the test results came 4 days later, that's when they that's when they said, "Okay, yeah, she's not on drugs." So then my parents got to come pick me up, but they said, and right in front of me as well, "You can leave her here if you want us to help her work on her attitude." I'm like, what? And so my mom's like, "No, we'll take her home because she's not on drugs. That's the whole reason we brought her here." My her attitude, you're not going to change because I am the way I am. And my attitude was my mom and dad used me as their personal servant. Like all I did was clean and cook and all that crap. So I just was reserved. I stayed in my room and I'm like, I'm not going to eat dinner because if I did, I'd have to do the dishes and then I'd have to do this and do that and and I didn't want to be doing it anymore. I was tired of it. So, anyways, I digress, but I just want to tell you that I totally relate to what you're saying.
Yeah, no, you really, really do because like it was so bizarre. And I think from my understanding that there was like an ad in Sunset magazine. And that's how we heard about this place. And so I would say that the most horrific that was the most horrific year of my life. I was there a year. And
You were there a year?
mhm,
Shut
yeah.
up.
I won't shut
Oh,
up. And
oh my God.
so it was bad news bears. And I
Torture.
so yeah, well, it was really bad. So yeah, my own therapist said like the best way to phrase it to people is that I was abused in every way possible, including trafficking. But I have found that the details of the abuse are not helpful to the greater world, and so I like focus on the healing I have done since then. And so there's my line. But so I when I emerged, and my understanding was the insurance ran out, and so I emerged, and I would say that was kind of the beginning. I've never thought about it like this, but the beginning of my villain origin story. Um, but I became the perfect kid. And I remember standing in front of my door, my childhood door, and saying to myself, that was then, this is now. And so I like kind of moving forward, never when talking to people about things, never addressed like early childhood ever. Because I felt like I could package it up, bury it, and it didn't happen. And
Did you have like shame or embarrassment because you didn't want anybody to know? Because like it's embarrassing that your parents feel like they had to do that to you. And then like I never really told too many people. And then after I started telling a few people, they were like, "That's crazy. You should write a book. That's nuts."
yeah, well,
But I did.
that's
I
like
wrote a book.
that's like the fast forward because I didn't talk about it until about a decade ago, like at all ever. And so and actually one of my childhood best friends, she lived 5 houses down. She lives in a town that's like now here in Colorado, we're like an hour and a half from each other. And we before I started actually talking about what was going on kind of in my childhood on a regular basis, we met for brunch and we're just catching up. And then all of a sudden she's like, what happened? when we were kids?" And I was like, "What?" And she's like, and it was a turning point for me, but still made me cry. But she said, I went to your door when you went missing, and and first your mom pretended like she wasn't there. And then I was like, "Where's Stacy?" And I guess my mom told her she ran away and slammed the door in her face.
What?
Yeah. And so,
Weird.
and she's like, "And then when I saw you again, you seemed happy." But she was the athlete. I was like on debate. I was the talker. But so we had different crowds and didn't like interact about it at that time. And I don't know if I could have told her. I know I could not have told her at the time.
Yeah.
Um and
Do
so
you think your mom did that because she got married and then they just didn't want to have a kid around?
I think she was overwhelmed with her cancer. Because my mom ended up having 17 surgeries. Like they did a
Oh,
mastectomy on the wrong breast.
shut
Yeah.
up.
I won't.
It's like draw an X, people.
Yeah, I know. I had ankle surgery in college because I shattered it ice skating, and they gave me a marker and told me to write yes on my ankle. I'm like, oh, they do it different now. Like, meh. Um, and so anyway, so I kind of built a foundation when I returned on like achieving and perfection and being shiny and happy, and being the best friend ever. And so, and it worked for me until it didn't. And so my mom, she died when I had just turned 22. My mom went to her grave not knowing anything that happened in Utah. Because you better believe I'm not gonna talk about it, like, because when I had told her about my abuse when I was a little girl, she reacted badly and denied it, and that was probably one of the most painful moments of my life. And so
Do you
and
think
then
they
when
denied it because, like, a lot of people, they don't want to, they feel responsible, like, they feel like maybe they weren't there for you, and that's how it happened. I mean, some people deny it because then they'd have to, the real truth is, like, they weren't there to protect you in that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe there's some of that. I was 3, and, it was an
Poor thing.
uncle. I think that, in addition to that, because that resonates, I learned later after the court case that happened, because it happened till I was 3 to till 10. Um, and so when it came out, because when my stepdad joined the family, he was like, "There's something wrong with this kid, like, let's get her checked out." And so I went to a facility, like a hospital, and they gave me paperwork. It's 1989. I'm 10. I have paperwork that was like, "Has anyone ever touched you inappropriately?" And I'm like, "Yes. Thank you for asking." And so that's like all it took, right? And so when it came out in the court case, my mom revealed to me she had had trauma that had never talked about until the moment she was talking to me before I was going to testify. So timing issues aside, I'm like, there's just so much backstory that while like some of the past is really inexcusable, it's a better lens. To be like, okay, like you didn't know what to do with this kid. So anyway, so I went to grad school to become a therapist, because let's help other people instead. And so my thing that I would talk about all the time in, when you're supposed to have these like counseling sessions to be a therapist, like I would talk about the grief of my mom dying, which is valid and real. And so it was anticipatory grief. It was a lot. It was really hard, and as an only that was my very last family member. So, I don't have any living family, which it sounds like, is a plus when it comes to Thanksgiving because people have lots of conflict,
Yeah.
but it's hard, I would say, and so grief was kind of like my thing, and it still is. I specialize in grief, but that felt way safer than going to the deeper stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in grad school, I fast forward, I went to school in Arizona. I moved to Colorado. and started private practice that I started in 2010. And so I've been, talking with kids, teens, young adults for a long time. And there was a moment at a dinner party that everyone was talking about their childhood. And someone's like, "Did I ever tell you like I broke this pipe when I was a kid and like made the school flood?" And someone's like, "Did I tell you?" And I was like, "Did I tell you guys I was like locked up and sent away for a year?" And it was like the quintessential record stop moment. And everyone's like, "No, you didn't mention." And I was like, "Oh." And so that I was like, maybe I should address that. And so that's when I sought out
Because
my own
like if you don't break it down, it shows up later in life. Like it just kind of
glue.
bubbles to the surface.
I always tell kids, if you don't deal with this now, it's going to be later with interest, which means you're going to owe more and it's going to be harder. And so, and it's true because what we attempt to bury, it comes out sideways, like I'm sure in all different kinds of ways in my behavior
Well,
and
you
really.
blurted it out at a dinner party. Bleh. You know what I mean?
It was like, oh, it was just like right there.
Right.
Yeah. And so I started doing my own therapeutic work, and I was like, oh, like there's a lot of like tangible things that I can like connect to that maybe one day I'll write about it. And so it's been like a long dream. But I was like, not only do I know from the perspective of being a traumatized kid, I've seen traumatized kids for like close to 20 years. And so I started writing, and that's when I wrote my book. And so I would say that it is half about my resilience and my healing journey, and half things I've learned from sitting on the other side of the couch for kids for 20 years.
Can I ask you a question before we dive into your book? I
Yes,
want to.
my
I want
birthday's
to.
in May. Is that the question? No.
I do want to talk about. Okay, your book's coming out in May. You said.
Oh, no, it came out. It came
Oh, it
out
came out in May.
like
This past May. Sorry, I
yeah,
forgot what month we're
yeah.
in.
No, I just like that's always my standard response when someone can ask a question. I always say my birthday's in May because I think I'm hilarious. Only child, remember?
Yeah, my
No, but
birthday
this
was
is
last weekend. Thank you.
this is the book.
With love, and then I can't
So
read
it's
it.
with love from a children's therapist. Hashtag lessons I've learned along the way.
Oh, I love it, and the cover is really beautiful. I love that
So
lavender.
much, and it has. I really wanted a butterfly because it's like my thing. So I wanted a butterfly,
Oh,
and
cool.
so super fun random fact. Somehow, some way, somebody in South Korea discovered my book and asked if the rights had already been sold, and I was like, "What?" And so anyway, their publisher contacted my publisher, and it's getting published in South Korea.
I want that
It,
to happen for my book.
oh, right? And so, but it's funny when you say pretty cover, it made me think because they're like, we're going to reserve the right to change the cover. And I was like, that's okay. And I was like, is there a way though that it could still be purple? Cause it's kind of my signature. And they said, actually, in South Korea, purple is considered morbid. And it's like, it's a color associated with death and dying. So, literature, a lot of Korean literature doesn't do well with purple covers. Is that a deal breaker? I'm like, no, it's not a deal breaker. I was like, but people are going to ask, why is that book not purple? And
Right.
so, yeah. So I'm like, well, my cover's pretty for us.
Right, right, right. That's so funny. Okay, so we left off in the story, some of your stuff started bubbling up. If I ask you a question, because this is true in my family as well, and I actually too have. It's so funny. We have a lot in common. I have a chapter in my book, but I don't ever discuss it out loud because I do have siblings. But the chapter's called "Shh, Pretend You're Asleep." And so, I mean, and so I do talk about stuff that has happened, and I don't tell the story of my siblings because I don't really know their story and I can't go there. But our family, we all got together, when something, and because I'm a talker, so I said something and we were older and we all got together and we decided not to tell mom. and it was like a covenant between all of his kids. In fact, my brother flew in from another state, and my sister drove up from Northern California, and we all met in like Palm Springs, and we all had a discussion, and we promised never to tell my mother. She knows now. My mom, my dad passed away like 10 years ago, and hence the reason why I wrote the book, because I can now talk about it without messing up my mom's marriage with my father. They would have been married 47 years had he not passed away. The year he passed away, it would have been 47 years, 10 years ago. But I wanted to ask you why you think is because you're a counselor and you have more experience knowing this. But why do families stay silent about childhood struggles like this? And
Yeah.
I
Thank you
mean,
for sharing that. Yeah, I didn't talk about any of this till my mom died. And so my mom was too fragile to handle like any. I think often about when I do some family counseling scenarios, I always keep in the back of my head, these people have to go home with each other. And so it's hard to be honest. And like, if I don't know, if a me had met with my mom and I'd be like, what do you wish you could say to your mom? Like, I could not sit, like, look at her because I know my stepdad told me it broke her every day that she feels like she messed up, but she did. Right. And so she is a human. And so there's room for error. And also you screwed up big time. And so I think that it's challenging because you're still in relationship with people, and then it's like the after. It's like we could reveal something, but then like it's somehow awkward because people are still in their human behavior. You
yeah.
know, if everyone was like, we're committed to being as healthy as possible, which usually doesn't happen, then it would be different. But like there is no, some of the things I've now like shared, and I'm, healing from my own mother wound still. Like I talk about that in my own therapy, like the deep mother wound. I I would not have acknowledged that when she's alive, and I didn't.
If one of the things I want to say about my mom, and dad, or my mom, is that, one of the things back, because I was born in 73, which is a long time ago. And uh, one of the things that they didn't have that we have, like, how your parents read it in a magazine and mine read it on a pamphlet. Like, we didn't have internet or peer groups or like any kind of support system for them to learn, and they're learning just to be a parent just like we did. Like, we don't know there's no manual, and there's no self-help guide to help you be a good parent. You just have to be the best parent you can be, and sometimes you fall a little short. And in my case, and I'm sure in yours, your mom, they fell down pretty bad. Like, they fell short. And but I as an adult now, I look back and I don't fault my mom. Um, my mom was an abused wife. My dad was an ass to her. And I watched it, and I write about it in my book a lot. My dad was just it's funny because in the first page, I say my dad is a wolf in sheep's clothing, and nobody would be safe, is what I said.
Wow.
And it's kind of telling of it's all through the book. And I don't want to like bash my father, because in a way, I don't feel like should bash, because he was a great dad in the way that he did certain things good, and he worked really hard. But then he also, I just certain things that were not great. Anywho, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So you have some healing tools that you use. You specialize in synergy play therapy. Can we go into a little?
Synergetic play therapy. It's kind of own brand. So, Lisa Dion, who I consider a genius, she is a play therapy educator, and she's located here in Colorado. And there used to be a center before COVID, but the it's something you can get certified in, and like at this point in time, because I was like one of the first in the group because she was local. One of the first in the group to get certified, and now people like in every like continent are certified in it. And so it's kind of a combination of really like therapist authenticity, like your ability to connect, to have attunement. And so it kind of goes like hand in hand with a therapist's own personal healing, which is like one of my pillars that I believe every therapist should be doing their own work and what however that looks like. But it is less of old school theory of like I'm checking myself at the door and saying like, how do you feel about that? And it's more like an embodied practice of like what I'm actually picking up from you that you're giving me with mirror neurons in the room. And so the deeper that I go in my own healing journey, the more available I am for my clients. And so that's kind of like a synopsis of a 9-month certification.
Mm. I have a question here, so I'm going to read it because I every time I read it, I feel like I'm dyslexic, but I'm not. But I'm like, what am I? So, how do play and creativity help children process trauma differently than like a traditional talking therapy?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Um, the language of kids is play. And so they're not going to sit down and be like, can we discuss the needs I have that you are not providing for me? Otherwise that'd be real weird if they did, right?
Yeah,
And
think
so
we're
they're,
talking to, right?
yeah, yeah, and so a lot of what they're doing it manifests in play. Um, I don't know if you know about sand tray, but it's one of my favorite modalities. But it's like in my because I have two office rooms. The other one, it looks like because it was my friend Dave made it for me, but it was a big like table and the top comes off and it's gutted and there's a special kind of sand in there and it's super fun when I take it off and first reveal it's because they're like what there's sand in there and then it looks like every happy meal over time exploded and ended up in my office and family groups. And so one of the things to do with sand tray there's a million directives but one is hey find a character to be you. Show me what it's like to be you, like, in the sand. And, like, once I had a really high conflict divorce scenario where a kid picked a tiny mouse as mom and Darth Vader as dad. And you're like, "Yeah." And then, like, they show where they are in relation, and then so you say, like, "What is that character? What are they feeling? What do they wanna do?" And they'll, like, bury themselves or, like it's fascinating. I did like, there was a day training on Sandtray. It was fascinating. My non-therapist friends were like, "A day about sand?" Um, and so but I volunteered to be, the guinea pig client in one of the demonstrations, and I was supposed to show what the biggest challenge in my life looked like in that time, and I was like, "Okay." And so it was like holidays times, and so like I said, like I like orphan, don't have any like family, but do not feel bad for me. I'm fully loved, have plenty of friends, super loved. But so I put in the sand what like a yellow clothed family, an orange clothed, like I was like people taking family photos at Christmas time, and then like I was like the little purple one in the middle. And I was like, oh. And then she's like, you know what, like what is the little one, the purple one need? And like hopped over to like a different colored family and like put on a little yellow outfit or whatever. And so I'm like, oh, sand is helpful because it presents kind of a 3D image of your brain that talking doesn't always address.
And not every kid can communicate their feelings on a drawing or in certain ways or splashing in a pool. I mean, I don't know. It's just there's different ways to for kids to be able, like, I believe kids learn through play. So I when I was teaching preschool, we did a lot of play, was part of our learning. And my son also did some play therapy in counseling because he we were trying to discover some of his issues when he was younger, and behavior. He was in a lot of behavioral therapy. He has we didn't know at the time, but when he was about 8, he was diagnosed with Asperger's, and we learned how he thinks. Like he sees in a box, and he can only see in that little box. He has a hard time seeing outside the box and other people's, and he couldn't read cues, social cues and things like that. Um, but I was going to ask you, like, for parents that are listening, what are some early signs that a child might be carrying some heavy trauma? Like, I mean, maybe, your mom just didn't know the signs, or, like, what are some signs that maybe
Yeah.
parents can see that their parents, like, something's going on that they need to maybe
Yeah.
get
No,
help
it's a
for
great
their.
question. I mean, I believe, and I wrote about it in my book, that it was the 80s, and so tools weren't as readily available. I don't know if my mom died before texting. So like, so I don't know if she would have taken advantage to all the wisdom out there. Um but I have a special heart for, because there's the kids that like demonstrate they're on fire, right? Like they're the ones like having all these behavioral challenges, and so it's easy to be like, oh, there's trauma there, and like what's going on, and stop that behavior. I have a special heart for the kids that present well. And so, which, like in your case, it doesn't mean like you're doing drugs,
Right.
um, but it's important to know what's going on. I see several kids that, and have over the years, that, and I have so much respect for parents who bring kids to counseling, but especially these kids, that they are the sibling of a kid who is on fire. And so they're like, we need to make sure that this kid's emotional needs are being addressed. Like everything is fine as of right now, but we want them to have extra support. And so
Yeah.
I'll talk with them about, what is that like? Like, and they'll say, like fun stuff gets ruined, we don't get to do a thing, and like I was behaving, and that, that's frustrating. So I mean, I would say attunement with your kid, like knowing the kid that's in front of you, knowing like their quirks, and if something seems different than normal, but always check in, because I think we forget the shiny kids.
Excuse me. I'm gonna actually drink a little bit of water.
Okay, you do that. Yeah, we forget about, because we think that they're fine, and we learn a lot of times, like there's some kids who die by suicide, that the people are like, but they what? And so it doesn't surprise me. And it does not mean that every kid is in pain that is shiny. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, please check on those kids too.
So, like, in your scope of work, since you've been doing it for how long? You've been a long time, right?
Yeah, well, so I did volunteer youth work prior to that, but I moved to Colorado in 2009, and so January of 2010 is when I opened my private practice.
Wow, that's a long time.
I
Um,
know, when I hear it, I'm like, "Oh."
so what so in all that time, and in your own experiences, what have you seen has been the biggest obstacle for breaking like generational trauma? I mean, like you said, your mom possibly, sprung it on you on the last second before you were about to go into court. But I mean, now it seems like it's like, I mean, I'm lucky that it's not happening in my current my family. Like it's stopped in where I'm at. But I'm saying, like, what do you think about that? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good question. I wrote a chapter. It's chapter 15. Sometimes have a photographic memory. It's a little weird, but it's useful in my field. And so I wrote a chapter 15. It's called hashtag Get Your Own Stacy, doing your own work, and I start the chapter talking about a kid yelling at their dad in my waiting room. That was like, seriously, you need help. Like, get your own Stacy. And so I think the very best thing we can do for our kids is to acknowledge our own pain, and to like get our own support, because otherwise it manifests in the way that you parent, that you interact, what triggers you within your kid. And so I think that the best thing for them is people who are actively engaging in their own areas of opportunity. I feel like it's made me a 10 times better clinician and to be more authentic. I talk a lot about congruency, like, your insides matching your outsides. Cause like, when I was like, a teenager, young adult, my insides did not match my outsides. Like it was we were shiny. I use that word a lot, but it's really what it was. That I was like, yay, that yeah, it's sad my mom died, but I'm gonna specialize in grief. When there was just so much below the surface. And, as we know, that it bobs up and comes out in other ways.
Yeah. That kind of hit on the question I was going to ask next about the importance of a therapist or parents to do their own healing work as well while their child is also getting, sitting in therapy too. But I mean, so yeah, I mean, I guess it's good to recognize to start healing on for you in your field. You say that therapists should have therapists. Like, right? You should work on yourself as well because that'll just make you a better parent. It'll make you a better therapist. And just a better human being all the way around because sometimes we project our feelings onto others. And
Yeah.
poor IRS lady does not need to hear me yelling. Like,
You, but no, yeah. Like I say to a kid said to me not too long ago, "Do you think I'm crazy because I'm in counseling?" And I'm like, "Dude, you have a grand therapist." Literally. I met with her Tuesday. And they're like, "Really? What do you have to talk to a therapist about?" I'm like, "Oh, so we do not have the time or the snacks available for that conversation." And I was like, "Also, my understanding is you have a great grand therapist." And I was like, it means there's something right that you're like, I am a human and being a human is hard. Have you been outside? Like, it's hard.
it's really bad. Adulting is difficult.
Oh, I know. I have a game that's like it's kind of an icebreaker game for like tweens. But it asks different questions and one of them is like, what do you think the best and worst parts of being an adult are? It's always fun to hear the answers. Like usually the best is centers around some kind of dessert for some kind of meal. Um, like you could do that if you want. But like often with the like worst thing, they're like everything else. It sounds terrible. Bills sound terrible.
It's funny. I mean, you listen for a living. What age groups do you see, by the way?
So I advertise ages like 3 to 30, and like I still remember a 3 year old who did sand tray because there was a tragic like flood that happened and got it all out on the sand. Barely can talk, right? But I see 3 to 30, and usually like the up to 30 are the kids I've seen for a while or have come back. Like I usually don't start at that age. But I would say that my like main current like caseload is in between the ages of 8 and 20. Those like ages with
So
the
you listen to kids for a living, and you listen, and so they feel heard when they're around you. But in a world full of distractions, and parents are constantly busy, and like you always hear that mom, 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 mom when you're on the phone, like that's your kid
yeah.
drive you nuts. I used to always say, "Okay, 1 second, just give me a minute, okay? I'll be right off." Because if you don't, they're going to keep saying, "Mom, mom, mom, mom." And so, but how important is it? I mean, what are some tools that parents can do to like make sure that their kids are feeling heard, especially in a world that's just so nutty?
Yeah, like so I have this whole list of like questions in my book like that are good conversation starters. I often tell the parents of clients I see that car talks are usually really good because they're not being forced to look at you. And so sometimes, like, kids, like, they find that overwhelming or intimidating to like sit down, tell me all your feelings, Um, but I would say that it's always good to have some standard check-in questions with your kid. Like, is there is there anything that I missed that you want to tell me? Is there a conversation we had that you would like to do over? But the thing is, that goes hand in hand, in my opinion, with doing your own work. Because how it works here with confidentiality is that, everyone knows like the limits. If you say you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to hurt someone else, or someone's hurting you. But if stuff falls like out of those lines, like my mom slams doors when she's mad, but says she's not mad, something like that. And I will say, like, I'm wondering if I could have a conversation with mom about that. And oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes they say no, because she'll say, yeah, because I'm the worst parent ever. And it won't go well. And so I have found that the kids more likely to talk to their parents, like they have a little bit more faith that it won't come back to them with defensiveness. That like they're like, no. And I was like, it could be different coming from me. But and that's part of why I wrote a book too. Is because I'm like, there's so much good stuff kids tell me for parents that like I can't, because we've already talked about you can tell me anything. I can't be like, hey, like stop doing that thing we all do, like slamming the doors and saying we're fine.
Right, right. That's so true.
Yeah. And so I think like, in doing your own work, that helps you be less defensive to be like, I always tell parents like, of course you make mistakes. You're a human raising humans. Like we didn't do this before, in my opinion. Don't want to do it again, in my opinion. But I think that like if they feel like on the receiving end they will be received well, and it doesn't mean like, thank you, my love. I will take that to heart. But it's not going to instantly come back at them and the kid's going to feel worse. And then the parent feels bad, for making the kid feel bad. So I would say to develop a relationship and, begin a relationship with your child, try it to indicate to them, there's things that I'm working on, and I promise I'm going to do my best to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so you're a great storyteller, by the way. You tell, your stories are very interesting, and I know that you're still on your own journey of healing, but you've done a lot of the work. I mean, you've got a lot of legwork, and you understand what it's going to take to continue on. Um, do you have any encouragement for maybe moms out there or anybody listening that to encourage them to share their lives with others? And maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be in a book, although I do say if you have stories, you should put them in a book because it is a very therapeutic, because at the end you learn so much about yourself in a way.
Yeah.
And that's why in the end of my book I put like mastering my mistakes, because that's what I called the chapter, because I just felt like I came full circle and I learned so much from writing the book about myself and my family members and everything. And I do say, tell your story, but do you have any other courage besides me encouraging you, but any encouraging, for people out there and maybe to share their, so that they can start on their healing journey themselves.
Yes. No, that's good. And thank you for saying that. I actually did my own audiobook. So if you're liking my cartoon voice, like check out my audiobook, because I was like, I don't want anyone else reading it. Like that would be
It's
weird.
true, but they said I couldn't do it, so somebody else is reading it.
Oh,
You know,
that's annoying. I don't like that.
I'm just
That's a
saying.
terrible story. 0 out of 10. Um, I would say that like oftentimes people can get really activated when their kid is an age that they were when something happened to them, and so I would say kind of listen to that. Like I believe it's a gift that you're giving yourself. Like when I have my sessions, like I feel like it's not only a gift that I'm giving myself of that time, but the kids that I'm connected to, because I am healthier and more congruent, and it's not like bubbling below the surface. So I would say that if you were ever a child, probably have stuff to talk about. Um, because like one of my big things is we call kids resilient all the time, but what are people who are adults in therapy talking about? Their childhood. So
Right.
why do we not give them the tools and the support so that as an adult they're not unpacking things? So I would say like to give yourself the gift of being heard. Like to me that's one of the premier gifts is to be seen and heard.
I love that. Don't did we touch on your book? I want to make sure that we touched on your book enough so that, people out there go. You said you had another book too, right? Just the one?
No, I don't know. I mean, this is my first book, um,
Love it.
and probably not the only book because, like, this has been fun. But, um, yeah, like, yeah, it came out in April. The audiobook came out in May, and so I've been pretty proud of it. What I love is hearing feedback, speaking of being seen and heard, that people are like, I do feel seen and heard. Because I've been saying that it's for anyone who loves someone who's 11 or who was ever 11. That like it helps address some of those like inner child wounds.
And 11 is the age that we're all the most awkward. 11 and 12,
Yeah.
that's the,
Right?
the hardest year that most people are dealing with. And you just really had it. You had it really bad.
Yeah, it wasn't great, I'll tell you that.
Mm-mm,
Uh,
no.
and so
Like I said, you and
yeah,
I,
yeah, we're tracking. Well,
I was
yeah,
I was
and
in high
so
school. I was 16 years old when they did that to me. It was
wow.
just before I was 17. And that's the age where I mean, I don't know. And they actually took me out of basketball that year too, because as punishment. And so they took away the one thing that keeps you out of trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell?
Rookie move, like, rookie
Right.
move.
Like,
Yeah.
she always, my mom regrets that now, but I mean, she doesn't regret sending me to a drug rehab because she says, well, what happens if you were on drugs, Jessica? Then what was I supposed to do? And I see her point because if I was on drugs, I was in the right place, but I wasn't. So, like, anyways, I know I laugh at it now.
Yeah, you're like, "Okay," I mean, perspective, but still, you didn't have to do it.
Right. I wouldn't do that to my kids. Just saying. But I want to drive people to your book. And do you have a book or a website that they have a landing page that people can go to?
So, yeah, so it's author stacyschaffer.com is my like, publishers made that website. So it's Stacy with no E, Schaffer with a C and 2 Fs, because there's a million ways to spell my name. But it gives you some information about the book, and then there's also links to like everywhere that you can find books. It's on
Are you on social
Spotify.
media?
What's that?
So you can go. So you're on. Okay. So you just started a podcast too, right?
No,
Oh wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I got it confused.
it's
My bad.
okay.
So sorry.
It's okay.
They can go to your website. Do you have social media?
Yes. So my Instagram is Hope Restored, and so you can find me there.
So
I've
if you go
just
to your
posted.
website though, will all your like links to your social media be on your website?
I do not believe my Instagram is linked to my website. I say in my book, like where you like I reference my Instagram, but I don't believe that it's on the author Stacy Schaffer.
Okay, so say it again so for the viewers.
So my Instagram is Hope Restored. I once upon a time I was gonna name my counseling practice that, but then I was told that Stacy Schaffer Counseling is catchy and easy to remember. So uh, okay. So it's Hope Restored. If you oh, this will not gonna come out in a while. I was gonna say if you go today, but this again won't come out in a while. But I posted a really adorable video of my dog. So
Oh,
just
I love dogs.
I do have a I have a therapy dog in training, named
Mm,
Willow. She's pretty.
Willow.
She's
Beautiful
fast.
name.
She's fast asleep because she has a hard life. And so Hope Restored. But the author Stacy Schaffer says about the book, it has endorsements and then some reviews, and then you can link to Amazon or Audible or Spotify, because it's like on all of those things. It links to Barnes and Noble too.
That's awesome. Okay, so also, you can find if you go to my website, justsayin.net, that's JESSSAYING.net, and you go there and you click onto the podcast page, scroll down to this episode, and click Stacy Schaffer's name. It'll take you directly to her website. Yes. Until now, until GoDaddy says I can't do it no more. No, I'm just teasing.
Yeah, you're like, but for now, that's where we're at.
Yeah, exactly. Also go to my website for, you can find my book there. You can find shorts about and all different things about my podcast and a little bit about me as well. And I am also on TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, X. I'm on them all. Just go to Just Saying or Jessica Donnell or Jeff Donnell. You'll be able to find me any of those ways. Stacy, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. It's been fun, and I swear we are like kindred spirits. So
We're connected.
we are connected in a little, in more ways than one, really.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. And I just want to say thank you. And for all that are listening, just remember, everybody, just be kind to one another. And, we're all in this world together, and just be good, be kind. And that's it for today. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
All right.
Low, talking about the days we used to know. VCR tapes and dial-up tones, raising kids living with achy bones. Leather jackets and big hair days, now it's carpool lines and PTA. Neon dreams turn into schoolyard fights, but our hearts glow in retro nights. We are Gen X, living both worlds. From cassette tapes to a digital world. Parenting now with a nod to the past. The retro love we know will last. We are Gen X, living both worlds. From cassette tapes to a digital world. A nod to the past, the retro love we know will last. We dance to the beats of the boombox sound. Now bedtime stories echo all around. But deep inside, we're the mixtape kings, still fighting life with arcade dreams. A pizza slice, telling tales with a side of advice, laughing at the way it used to be while raising kids